It's time to start your morning by taking 5. Here's your host, Matt McMaster.
You're listening to Take 5, a quick 5-minute take on the biggest things happening in Nebraska sports. I am your host, Matt McMaster, and today we are talking about the battle at the Boneyard. I was there in Lincoln on Friday, and so I want to tell you a couple of things that I heard, a couple of things that I saw, and a couple of things that I now believe after being there at Memorial Stadium to see a very, very impressive 7-on-7 tournament put together by the Nebraska Cornhusker football department. Okay, one thing that I heard, the cornerback, C.J. Branaugh, out of Miami, Florida, or Winter Garden, Florida, who is a 4-star commit to Nebraska, but a very soft commit in the fact that he is still taking other visits to other colleges and taking on offers and being recruited by other places, despite the fact that he technically is a Nebraska commit. He took a visit out to Florida to go and see what the Gators have to offer him. And I was told by a pretty reputable source that Gainesville necessarily didn't blow him away, that Florida necessarily didn't knock his socks off. I'm not saying that, I wasn't told that Florida is out of the conversation or Florida is no longer in the running to get C.J. Branaugh. I'm not saying anything on that regard. But what I am saying is that I think for a little bit it was trending in the wrong direction for Nebraska in terms of his commitment and how hard that commitment might be. At this point, I think momentum might be swinging. He was there too in Lincoln. He took an official visit that weekend. I think things might be swinging back into the Huskers' favor. This is a guy that they already got a commit from, but this is the world we live in now, right? In terms of taking, it's the world we live in terms of no commitment is finalized. No commitment is for sure. Even after guys say, hey, this is where I'm going to go, teams are still going to be on them. And some of these guys, like C.J. Branaugh, are going to decide, hey, I'm going to take those visits. He's taking another visit to Florida this Friday, but this instead, it's with Florida State and former Nebraska D.C. Tony White definitely will be on the front lines in terms of that recruitment. So C.J. Branaugh, I'm not saying that he's for sure going to be a Husker or anything like that, but I did hear that Florida didn't necessarily kill it with him on his official visit. Okay, what I saw, Ahmad Hudson, 4-star tight end out of Louisiana, one of the top prospects in the country. He's going to be a 5-star. I think that he put on a performance on Friday that proved to everybody that he deserves that moniker of being a 5-star, that he is such an incredible athlete. And what really was astonishing to me was his just catch radius. The guy is just super long, yet he moves so fluidly. And I do want to mention this. Trey Taylor, the 2027 Nebraska quarterback commit, spent a lot of time talking to Ahmad Hudson, a lot of time joking around with Ahmad Hudson. At one point was putting his arm around Ahmad Hudson. I think that this is Trey Taylor's greatest target, it seems like, in terms of pure recruiting, that he wants a guy like Ahmad Hudson who isn't just a big physical tight end safety blanket, but also can absolutely stretch the field from that position, which is something that is incredibly rare and you only see out of prospects that end up playing on Sundays. And he looked like a guy where, man, I would be shocked if he isn't playing in the NFL one day in terms of just his body and his athleticism. And he caught every ball. I mean, the guy has true hands, but also can be incredibly physical. And so he is a game changer. He is a dude. He's going to be one of the best, maybe even the best tight end in college football, I think, at some point, just because just all of the tangibles that he has. And then off, the field, seemed like he was a very cordial young man. He was talking to a lot of teammates. He wasn't one of those guys who was showing an incredible amount of attitude or trash talk or anything like that. So Ahmad Hudson, truly an incredible outing at the Battle at the Boneyard. And then we got to talk about Trey Taylor. Trey Taylor probably won't play Nebraska football until 2029, if we're being honest. He's probably not going to be the quarterback for another 5 seasons because he still has 2 more years before he gets here, and then he's probably got 1 year of sitting behind, whether it be TJ Lateef or Marcus Davila or maybe even Dane Raiola, who was also at the event, and we can talk a little bit about him. But, man, he's got it. He's got a good 5-step drop, hitches really well,
throws his lower body into his throws. He was throwing multiple throws from the opposite side of the hash, the right hash to the left side of the field. And not only was he getting the ball there with some whip and speed, but he was throwing the ball in touch. And it's one thing to complete a pass, but it's another thing to complete a pass in stride. A lot of these passes he was completing at stride. I know that he's not facing a pass rush, so it is really hard to fully analyze this, but I wasn't really impressed with his eyes. I mean, there were multiple times where he wasn't just dead locked on a target, where he was moving his head, moving his eyes around to see who's open. Felt like he held some safeties or held some corners with his eye contact sometimes. But he was a really, really impressive prospect. And I think that when you look at the pictures of Trey Taylor, you might think, he's young. He's got to grow into his body. He might be a little bit awkward. Maybe he's not the best athlete, but he's got a really good arm. You watch him. He's athletic. I mean, he is a true athlete. On the sideline, he was making one-handed grabs that were some of the better catches that I've seen out on the field. And so I think Trey Taylor, the hype is going to be there, and it's only going to get worse as this progresses. And I do know this, and I said this on the Gary and Matt show earlier today, that there is a belief and there is a feeling within that athletic department or within that football program that he could be the next best quarterback in that 2027 class. And I still think it's such a major credit to Matt Rule and his staff that they went into a state that they don't really go into, and they went into an area that they don't really go into, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Illinois isn't too familiar with Nebraska in terms of it being a university. And I don't mean from like a sport perspective, but even from a like academic perspective. My own personal experience, there was only 2 kids who went to Nebraska in my senior class. And then the year after, nobody went to Nebraska. And then it took another year for one kid to go to that university. I went to a high school graduation recently. No kid in that high school graduation in Illinois was going to Nebraska. And so the fact that Nebraska came into a place where, they haven't necessarily been prevalent in the last couple of years, and not only did they grab a top prospect, but they grabbed the best quarterback, is just a statement to what Matt Rule is building and a statement to what Trey Taylor wants to be a part of. And, man, he looked the part. Speaking about guys who looked the part, Dylan Raiola was there too. He looked good. He looked like he was, everyone's worried about his weight and whatnot. I think it's a whole bunch of hubbubaloo. He looks fine. He's going to be okay come season. Really impressed with Dane Raiola, how he looked. He looked like he grew up, like he hit puberty, like he's lost a lot of that baby fat. It looks like a very imposing, athletic individual. And so it'll be really interesting to see. I think that's a storyline that definitely we need to be keeping an eye on as high school football comes through, is Dayton Raiola's progress, and how does he look in Georgia, and how is he playing in Georgia, and is he getting more offers? Is he getting more interest? Is his star rating going up? Is he developing into a quarterback that isn't just going to be Dylan's brother, but could be Dylan's successor? I think that's an incredibly interesting storyline that we all have to keep along with during this high school year. But overall, I think that Battle at the Boneyard was a success. I think that Nebraska football did an incredible job of organizing this brand new event and brought new eyes and new athletes and a new perspective to Nebraska football that they didn't already have before. And I think that in itself is a major accomplishment. So kudos to them. That's been Take 5. I've been Matt McMaster.